Thank you. Good morning to everybody in the room and those online and members of the public viewing as well. This meeting of the Lower Gardens Trust is being held today, Monday the 30th of January, and we'll start with apologies. Nikki, Democratic Services, do we have any apologies?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, apologies have been received from Councillor Green and Councillor Slade.
Thank you very much. I assume that we're quorate.
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Thank you. Declarations of interest. Does anybody in the room have any declarations of interest? Yes, Councillor Bartlett.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a director of BH Live. It's not a pecuniary interest, but one of public interest. Thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. You've all had the minutes and read them. Everybody happy that we approve them? Yes, Roger.
Good morning. Just one query, actually. It may be that I don't quite understand the wording in the minutes, but I thought we discussed the degrees of ambiguity with reference to who does what at the last meeting between the trust and the council on a day-to-day basis, what requires trust sign-off and what doesn't. So that may be answered within the wording on the minutes, but if it does, I don't completely understand it.
Well, it did for me, but I'm willing to listen. Are you happy with it, councillors? In terms of reference?
Yeah, I personally was satisfied that the responsibilities were clarified and our role as a committee and how it sits with the single trustee of the council, and where the trustee carries the responsibility as exercised through the decisions made at cabinet and as necessary through the full council.
I suppose the question is that reflected in the minutes?
I didn't see a problem with what I read through,
but
you know, clearly there is an issue for you, so I think if you could maybe expand on it a bit more so we can understand it.
Just from my point of view, and I know this is something that I kind of led on the day, I felt there was too much that was ambiguous in with reference to who does what, who has responsibility, accountability, what day-to-day decisions the council could make without referring to the trust. And this still, for me, feels like it is unclear specifically what can and can't be done on a day-to-day basis. And I think we might have suggested as almost a list of these are the kind of key things that are done in terms of security, waste, gardens, how much of it needs to be addressed to the trust and how much of it is left on an operational basis. For me, this hasn't moved on. Still remains ambiguous. So forgive me if I'm wrong.
No, you're absolutely right to question it. Mr. MacDonald, do you like to come in?
Yeah, I think in the minutes it does imply that we'll be coming back with a matrix at a later date. But I think this meeting was more to do with the accounts, and then at a later date we'll bring that back to the next board meeting, Roger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this primarily is a meeting about the accounts, but you're right to raise it if you're not happy with it. But the matrix will be here for the next full meeting. Thank you. In which case, other than that, any issues? Okay, so I'm happy to sign those when we're next together. Nikki, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the agenda. Right, so that brings us to item 4, financial statements. It's a statutory requirement to agree the annual financial statement for the Lower Gardens Trust and submit them to the Charities Commission by the end of January each year, 31st. The board is asked to review and agree the financial statements and a letter of representation prior to them being signed off by the leader and portfolio holder for finance and transformation. Today we have in the room Stephen, the accountant, and we have a representative from the external auditors. Stephen, do you want to present the accounts, please?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, all. Excuse me, sorry. Yes, so the 2021-22 accounts have been audited by Hickson's, and Nick Hickson is here on the call as well, the auditor. There were no issues. The opinion of the accountant, Nick, is that the accounts are unmodified. I say, so there are no issues. The portfolio holder is ready to sign the accounts once the board have signed them off, which is good. And then they will be submitted. I will make sure they are submitted by the Charities Commission deadline of the 31st, which is tomorrow. So the accounts themselves, there was a slight amendment to the draft accounts issued in November of £802. But in summary, the activities of the lower gardens are inverted commas back to normal, which is good to see. The income has risen by nearly £450,000 compared to the 2021 accounts. The expenditure has also risen. Unfortunately, that's gone over slightly over by £500,000. So the net effect is an increase of the donation from the BCP Council. And that now stands at just over £460,000. But all of the income constituents have increased, and unfortunately also the expenditure has increased as well. Now, but is there any? Would you like me to go into any more detail into the constituents, or is there anything further I can add, Mr. Chairman? Or
Thank you. Councillors, Mr. Boone, are you happy with that, or would you like Mr. White to expand?
No, I do have some questions.
Yeah, I was going to come next.
Okay.
Yeah. So shall we just move to questions, and starting with Mr. White? So you were first, so yes.
Thanks. Yeah, I've got a number of questions. The first one relates to the asset revaluation, which you note in financial year 2021 was reduced by 1.357 million. But this year, the asset revaluation has increased the asset value by over £4 million. And I just wondered, what is the basis of the revaluation?
those figures were provided to me by the council, the BCP council valuers. So it's part of their valuation of the property. I can provide no more detail than that at the moment. I will need to go and check with my colleagues in corporate finance as to more details of the valuers.
It's clearly a sizable increase in the asset value, and one that counters something that happened the year before. So it raised the question that, does this reflect an investment in a pavilion, for example? And that really is what's behind my question, is that how we're making provision for the future maintenance and upgrading of the pavilion, which is now very dated. It was, what is it? What has this money been spent on? Or is it just an inflationary asset increase? So I think it's quite an important aspect.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you. It probably is actually an inflationary increase, but we need to probably know. We can't go back and not prove this today. However, I would ask Mr. White if he would email us as a matter of urgency with an answer to Councillor Bartlett's questions.
Okay, the second question relates to the ice rink costs. So the trust incurred a cost, and it was reimbursed the cost. But unfortunately, the reimbursement was less than the actual cost. So, there's effectively a reduction. It's not a lot of money, but what it flagged up to me is, what I didn't see anywhere was the revenue specifically from the ice rink event. In note 3, under the activities, note 3 to the accounts, the activities, it doesn't show the ice rink, Christmas ice rink sales. So or license fee or whatever it is. but I just wondered maybe are they included in the concessions, refreshments and concessions line? So I don't know. It looks like Mr. McDonald might be able to answer this one. I don't know, but I can't see, you know, where the revenue from that is. Only a cost which has been reimbursed, but no revenue, which you would expect to see.
Is that a question, Mr. White, you can answer, or is that Ian Polney?
That I am endeavouring to answer that.
Thank you.
If you could bear with me, please. Thank you.
Whilst looking at that, I mean, what's in my mind here is the general state of the gardens now as a result of the ice rink, and whether if there's no financial benefit to the trust, but we see a degradation in the gardens over a prolonged period because it's the condition it's now in, you have to question whether we should continue to provide, you know, from a trust aspect, whether the trust should put up with that damage over such a long period. Now, I accept from the council's perspective, it's a different view on it because there's clearly some commercial, but you know, that damage is there for a long time, so you can't really enjoy the gardens in the way that you normally would be able to. And frankly, it's awful at the moment. I know it's going to take a long time to recover, but so I just have a general concern about that, and that's what's behind my question.
Of course, that's been a perennial problem. But, Mr. White, have you found the answer?
The income that I can see, Mr. Chairman, is the electricity recharge. That's £23,142. So I cannot see any license fees. I will need to look into that, but I'm not aware that they are there.
That doesn't answer your question, does it? I can tell by the look in your face.
Chair, I mean, these are more clarification questions that the auditors are satisfied with the gaps, and so will I. And I apologise for not raising these earlier. I thought I should have done that. Really, I understand that. I've been rather busy, so you know. So I apologise for raising at the last minute like this, but I think they're reasonable questions.
But they're reasonable questions. I don't think they should let us not approve the accounts, but I'm happy that we look into it further. If you could note that, please, Mr. White.
Yes, certainly, yes.
Yeah, Mr. McDonald.
Chair, sorry, from my understanding, the ice rink is actually run on a concession basis, and it's actually, we'll probably need to confirm with events, but the income they take is there to offset the costs of running the ice rink. In terms of the grounds maintenance side, I get my full cost reimbursed as a result of the damage to the gardens, which, as you well know, is considerable and normally takes, or doesn't, we can't really look at it properly until April, but that cost is definitely covered. I can confirm that.
Yeah, it's an issue that's been around since I have, certainly.
Yeah, and unfortunately the COVID period gave it a bit of respite, so it is actually in a better position than it normally is because it's had a chance to sort of mature a little bit this year. So, but yeah, we can't really get on there until the ground conditions firm up. That's the big problem at the moment.
Okay. Are there any other questions for Mr. White regarding the accounts and the auditor? Anybody have any questions for the auditor? Okay, in which case I'd ask you all to confirm their acceptance of the accounts as approved by the auditor, and that we submit them on the 31st of January. Can we do a vote, please, gentlemen? All those in favour? Thank you. That's unanimous. Well, being no other business on the agenda, I'll declare the meeting closed at 11:14.